Hello, GED students. Here's one of those examples that students freak out over that actually is way simple. So track with me. I'm actually going to show you one simple way to do it, and then I'm going to show you an even simpler way to do it using your calculator. So let's take a look. An adult education school is raising money for GED scholarships through candy sales. All right, interesting. The function P gives the profit per chocolate bar sold when C chocolate bars are sold. That's some interesting language. The function, you don't really need to know too much about it, except for what they're saying is we're going to call this equation P. It's a relationship, it's a function between two things, P, and they say that the function P gives the profit, so that P stands for profit, per chocolate bar sold when C chocolate bars are sold. So that C is chocolate bars. So this function is basically just a relationship between how much profit you make based on how many chocolate bars you sell. Use the function to determine the profit per bar when 1,000 bars are sold. Now, maybe you're thinking, Kate, I'm super mad at you. This is really challenging. There's a word problem and there's algebra, but I am so excited because I don't really have to understand a whole lot about this word problem here because they already told me the relationship between profit and chocolate bars. They just told it to me in an equation form. And what do they want us to find? Determine the profit. They want us to find P. Well, that's nice because P's already alone. When 1,000 bars are sold, 1,000 what? Hey, that's 1,000 candy bars, right? That's your C. We had said those chocolate bars, those candy bars are the C. And so what they're saying to you here is they're saying C is 1,000. And that's what they often do with these algebra word problems. Okay, you guys, they just put one of the letters in the word problem. And if they do that, any time we know a value, we can trade. We can trade out the letter, the variable for that value. So first we're going to do it the way you will need to be able to do it for college, which is doing the substitution on paper by hand. Super important skill if you have any goals to go into college or continuing education. And so I'm going to do it that way first, and then I'll show you how to cheat in the calculator. All right, so here we go. What am I doing? I'm looking for P, so P will remain a letter. My equal sign will stay nice and steady, as will my fraction bar. Any numbers I have in my original equation will stay, so like I'll still have my 1.5. But if I know the value of a variable, like I do C, I can trade it out. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trade out that C for that 1,000. They told me I'm going to sell 1,000 bars. Now, notice I put it in parentheses. Why did I put it in parentheses, you guys? You know this. Because 1.5 and C were shoved together, they were multiplying. I need some kind of signal for that once I trade it out as a number. My minus will stay the same. My 450 will stay the same. And then notice on the bottom, it's dividing by C as well. That's an over C. And I already know what C is. And so I can trade that C out for 1,000. And I don't need any parentheses that time because that's the only thing under there on that fraction bar. And then nice, there are no letters left. Look at that. It's all calculations. It's all numbers now on the right-hand side. And so I can figure out what P equals or what P is by just plugging that entire expression into the calculator. So it's kind of a long, ugly one with a fraction. So start with your fraction bar, and then we can do 1.5. And I'm going to use parentheses. I'm going to type it exactly the way I wrote it. Your calculator is a mathematician. It works like a mathematician. So I did 1.5 times 1,000 minus 450. And now to navigate down to the bottom there, I'm going to just use my down arrow and type in 1,000. And then I can see that my profit, was it profit per bar? Yeah, profit per chocolate bar sold is $1.05, 1.05. Hey, okay, that's exactly the way that you need to be able to do it for any kind of continuing education, any kind of algebra class you take. Three things, okay? We need to see our original equation. Then we also need to see your beautiful substitution step. Like I said, one of the most crucial algebra skills that just even exists. So knowing how to do it by hand is super important. And then your final solution. And anything else you can do in the calculator, I don't need to see your work, but that's like the bare minimum of work that you need for a college class. All right, so beautiful. Now, I promised you lazy guys out there, not lazy, we're not lazy, we're efficient Efficient. That's a great way, a really nice way of saying lazy, right? I promised you guys that I'd show you how to do even the substitution in your calculator. All right, so if you don't remember how to do that, we do that by storing variables. If you tell your calculator what the letters mean, then you can type letters into your calculator. Now, it's not going to work with the equal sign. You can't type the equal sign in. So I'm just going to take this right-hand side of the equation. Now, I know that I have this expression 1.5c minus 450 all over c, and that will give me the profit as long as I know what c is. And we said we did know what c is. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell our calculator what c is. To do that, you type the number in first, 1000, then you press this store button here, and that says to the calculator, I want you to store the number 1000, and then you keep clicking this variable button right above it until you get the letter you want, C. Now, you won't always have the letter you want, so sometimes you'll have to choose a different letter, but we do have C, so let me get right back to there, C, and then press enter. And now your calculator knows every time I type C, I want you to trade it out for 1000. And now you can just type this in with the C's and your calculator will trade for you. But same way to do it, N over D button, and we'll type 1.5, but this time we just have to type a C. And then minus 450. And then that is all over. I arrow down and I get C again. And look at that, $1.05. And you can do the entire thing in your GED calculator. For this example, I don't think that it's that important that you know how to do it with the calculator, although it is nifty. It saves you a few seconds and you can check your work that way. But the substitution wasn't that hard. But when you have some of those ones on the GED, they have a ton of negatives in them. The biggest chance for error is when there's a lot of negatives and minuses. So if the values have a lot of negatives, a lot of minuses, I highly recommend that you just use the calculator, because when you're nervous on a test, you're going to be more likely to drop negatives, which is already a big issue for a lot of students. So, all right, great job. Super proud of you. Do you see how algebra can actually make our lives easier? I hope that I have convinced you, you guys. All right, proud of you. Happy learning.